All right, guys, welcome to Chat with Charlie, another edition, but this is our first episode of 2024. Make sure I get that right. Sometimes I say 2004 and bring us back 20 years, but not this time. So 2024, got a great panel of guests that we're just going to sit here and talk a little bit about organic social, SEO, and anything else they want to talk about. Unfortunately, my co-host Paulette is not here, but she will be on our next show, which actually will be a live broadcast from Las Vegas. So I invite you guys to tune into that, and we'll probably have a lot of fun. We're going to do some singing and some other things that should be inviting to watch. But first, let's get to the panel here. So why don't we start with Samantha? Actually, let's start with Sweat and Pipes. So we're going to start with Sweaty Pipes, and please introduce yourself. Tell us, why you're even here. Were you coerced?
I feel like you have to preference the Sweaty Pipes thing just in case you haven't seen the other episode, because I feel like this just needs a little context to it. But anyways, yes, I'm Samantha Cornmesser. I am the marketing manager for MDT Marketing. I've been there for just about 5 years. And so I'm pretty excited. This is my second Chat with Charlie episode. Yeah, I know. I came on here twice.
Sucker.
I really owe Charlie this large debt, and this is how I'm paying off my, betting. But
the credit's getting there. All right. Yep. Well, thank you, Sweaty Pipes. We will leave that alone from now on. Jen, please, right. You were on our last episode, and actually this springed us into this episode. So please remind us who you are and all that stuff.
First of all, kind of disappointed I wasn't invited to Vegas. That sounds like a fun show to be on. So I expect an invite soon to that one. But I'm Jenn Lyles. I'm Executive Director of Beauty Schools Marketing Group. I consider myself to be a Gen Z expert. I love all things social, particularly TikTok.
And you're a paid influencer.
I am now. Yeah.
On your LinkedIn? Influencer. Is that on your LinkedIn though?
I should add that. I don't want to. There's so much on my LinkedIn. I feel like I'm a walking billboard at this point. So try to separate my life.
All your billboard has to say, Jen, is Jenn Lyles.
Yeah.
Jenn Lyles, first and last name only.
That's it.
Yeah, that's how people know.
And for our next person, I challenge you to say his name without saying his first and last name. I don't know why, man, but I always say Bobby Bonds. I've always said I can never say your first name alone.
Yeah, Bobby Bonds. I represent 3 different entities. I have Complement Vocational Careers. We have 2 campuses in South Florida. I have American Healthcare Institute, which is in West Palm Beach, and the Aquinas Network, which has an office in Miami and Bogota, Colombia. And we focus on a plethora of things there, from content development, curriculum development, advertising, admissions, and technology architecture. So we do a lot of things in South America.
You're kind of a potpourri of items.
I sprinkle it in. Like I said, if I had a team shirt, it'd be like a soccer jersey, just advertisements all over me. And
we're gonna auto dub in Mark and Johnny is that guy that does this,
right? I'll
sprinkle it in like that. We'll auto that in. And last but not least, our other side is Martin. How are you, man?
Thank you for inviting me. So I'm Martin Durlak. I'm the only Canadian on this show. So we are. I'm an school operator that turned into a marketing. Hopefully, I can describe myself as a guru, but we're kind of the anti-social of lead generation. So we do everything that's not social. So we focus on paid search, lead gen for mostly schools. We do a little bit in the other education, other fields as well. And then we evolved over the last 7 or 8 years from just selling leads to managing campaigns, building landing pages, websites, and kind of working on conversion. We actually built some software that was geared towards improving our own conversions, but then we ended up licensing it to schools because we found it effective. So kind of evolving from that perspective where, the one unique part about us is where I'm a school operator that turned into a marketing geek versus a lot of our competitors. They're, marketing geeks, computer nerds that have never really run schools. So we get that other perspective. So we focus a lot on admissions and working with schools to get that lead to actually become a student.
Okay. Are you more of an IT guy? Like, you code and stuff like that? Or are you more on the side of the visionary?
Yeah, more. No, I definitely don't code, although I'm playing with it a little bit right now. But no, more of a strategic visionary, and I wouldn't call myself necessarily a visionary, more of a scientist. We look at the science behind a lot of data analysis, not really the art side of the business.
Okay, well, you're with a great group then. Well,
I know. I'm the opposite.
I just got sweaty.
I'm the
I had a little sweat drip down when you said scientist. I'm like, you're on the wrong podcast, bro. So what we do, so you don't know, we've got an internal audience that watches this. We have sales managers, director of admissions, people that operate the schools, campus executive directors, and then we have an external audience that we've kind of evolved to over the last year and a half. So I'll just say for this subject, I love to talk about, Jen, we talked about this, of how you can use the products that are out there, which for this purposes would be social or to other products, even with Martin's products, to make you more impactful. When Bobby Bonds and I were repping and doing some things, it was just the phone. I mean, honestly, we didn't. I mean, I'm older than Bonds here, but I mean, we didn't have text messages. We had like a Rolodex, and remember, I don't know if you guys remember moving the A's to the Z's, and then you'd start on the B's, and then you do the B's through your name calling and things like that. But now we have texting, creative narratives. We've got social pages, which is done a great deal, at least for us, from building our culture and showing who we are from a real honest perspective, that type of thing. And then there's other tools that we're using that really close down our FTEs. So we don't use a lot of admissions reps like back in the old days. We have 50, 100 reps just turning and burning, where we're more efficient with our FTE counts and, lower cost, higher conversions type things. So I'll launch it out to you. What would you say, if a rep is listening to that wants to be a director of admissions or wants to involve in the marketing or something like that, how can they utilize from their own self-branding perspective, which helps the school group that they work for? And then aside from that, how can the school group lose kind of that micro kind of worry that this person's going to brand themselves and not necessarily brand the school, and they want to put controls on it? Big two questions right there, but I'll just throw those out to you and tell me what you think.
I know one thing that we talk about a lot is branding, is having a very solid school brand. And it's something we've actually been talking with a couple of different clients, that you need to have one solid brand. Otherwise you can't have anybody go out on their own. If you don't have some kind of branding guidelines to give them as a kind of, again, guideline, some rules and kind of your verbiage, because words, I mean, if you don't say something a certain way, if you call students something else, if you call admissions something else, I think someone had called them student success managers or something like that instead of like admissions reps. So you should have that language written down, which a lot of even companies and schools always have it in somebody's head. It's always in your head and it's not written down. So it's like a surprise to everybody. They always have to school everyone. So that's something I would say. Definitely have some brand.
When you say that, though, and I know, Bobby, you got something too, but when you say that, do the people make the brand or does the brand make the people?
It's a mix of both. It definitely is a mix of both. Because the people, a brand guidelines, once you make it, it's not done. It's a living piece that you have to constantly work through because, again, just like everything changes. So I would definitely say the people tend to influence that a lot. Okay. And I know, Jen, you put something out today, and it was Be Real. I know Be Real well, kind of Snapchat-ish, right? Very pitch-oriented. Mm-hmm. Talk to us a little about that, and then please bounce over to Bobby and Martin Plew. But talk to us about that, how we're evolving. I think that was ranking 5th or 4th or something in social pages.
Yeah, it's now the 5th most popular social app.
We're not talking Thread here, are we, where it goes away tomorrow?
We're not talking Threads. We're talking about something that's been around for a couple years that's slowly going up the ranks. I think at the end of the day, people are craving authenticity. Sure. And your staff, they are not like little businesses, like little entities that you can control of like, say this, do this. I don't think people want that.
Sorry.
I think they want their director. No,
it was this. It was that part.
Oh,
I enjoyed this.
I'm a big talker with hands, so just get used to this. But I will say, I think that from a student perspective, from the outside, they're looking for the flaws. They're looking for the realness in people. And I think if you put too many rules on your staff of like, if you're going to be representing our brand out there, you need to do this, you need to look like this, you need to be wearing a suit. I think you lose the human element that Gen Z, our future students, are craving. They want real people. And so, yes, what I said today on LinkedIn is what I'll say to you guys. Why is Be Real such a huge thing right now with Gen Z? Because they're looking for authenticity and they're looking for transparency.
Good answer. Okay.
Yeah.
Bobby, I know you had something.
So I have gotten a lot of advice this year on social media from these 20-year-old young ladies that work with me and the 60-year-old men that invest in me. Right? I'm getting it.
That's a dichotomy.
Right? I'm getting it from both angles. And the two pieces of advice I took really away from this year was, number one, make social media part of your culture. You want to encourage your people to be taking pictures, taking videos, making it fun, right? That you want to encourage that.
Does it make you nervous at all as an operator, as an owner?
So we have controls in place. When they send, we have a repository where they send that stuff to, and then we have somebody that looks it over and edits it and does what we need to do to make sure that it's okay. And then it does happen. We have things that slip through the cracks all the time. If you go onto my ads, hopefully I'm the only one that catches it, but I found errors. Like I found a misspelled word a couple days ago that I fire off and say, hey, make sure you take this down and edit it. So it does, we have a bunch of controls in place, but it does happen. So number one, we make it a part of our culture. And then the second thing that we try to tell our people is to try to take yourself a little bit more serious on social media. If you followed me over the past 5 years, I would say that I've been more active on social media this past 6 months because people have asked me, hey, take yourself a little bit more serious. But what that's done is we literally have people reaching out to us daily, weekly, asking, hey, let's partner in some way. And so it's been a huge benefit. I have dinner tonight with Ina Hall. She flew in from California to meet with me. Everybody loves Ina. That should be the next episode, right? Everybody loves Ina.
Sure.
But the third one is, to add controls. So like Samantha said, you get nervous, right? There's not a day that if I get 100 things to post, there's probably 10 that we approve. But we have those controls in place. So, I tell my people, make it a part of your culture, take yourself a little bit more serious in social media. And then as the company has the controls, everything's going to be fine.
One of the things we have struggled with is getting individuals to do it. First of all, just having them take that raw footage. Yeah. But then we were in a rut probably a couple of years ago where we did the depository thing, but then we edited so much, we took the rawness out of it.
Yeah.
So then it turned into almost too production oriented. Yeah. What would you guys say to that as how to have a happy medium where someone feels like their ingenuity is presented in the way they meant it to without someone taking 70% of their creative away and making it more of a production piece type thing? You get what?
Multi-purpose. I'm telling you, like your very well edited, developed pieces should live on YouTube. They should live on your Instagram stories. Your behind the scenes raw stuff should live in the stories the really edited stuff should be in a post as opposed to the stories. Stories should be, they go away in 24 hours. That should be like your raw kind of like in the moment stuff. Put that stuff on TikTok. That's going to attract that crowd. I think we get this idea that whatever our final production piece is needs to go everywhere. It actually doesn't. You need to take that B-roll and you need to add that in something else and put that on TikTok. You need to take the funny behind the scenes photos and put that on Snapchat. Like we need to be using all of our pieces in different ways depending on the platform.
Yeah, and Martin, I haven't forgot you. It's just because you're from Canada that I'm making you wait for all of this.
No worries.
So, Sam, the schools you work with, and Jen, the schools you work with, and especially Bobby Bonds with all your multi-businesses you have, do you guys have social teams? Just 2 years ago, I would talk to school groups and they didn't have a social team. They were third party in it or had someone on Fiverr that they just paid to do some stuff. Have you evolved into an own internal social team that controls this, either from your client perspective or from your actual perspective, Bobby Bonds?
We just hired our full-time person. We had somebody part-time for the past couple of years, but we just hired the same person. She came on full-time. But then we do have a team of editors that help us edit some of those videos at times. But no, we have somebody that's at every graduation, every orientation. We have her come into our board meetings because, as you know, Charlie, like you say some pretty cool things in a board meeting. You know, when you're sitting there and you hear the executives talk about what's the right thing for the student, we capture that, we put it out there. You know,
absolutely.
So, we do a lot of that.
Our highest impression show, or whatever you want to say, it's not likes, Jen, remember that. We talked about this, was when I had our CEO and our chancellor on, and he was talking. That resonated to everybody because it was raw, it was honest, it was on a couch with a cup of coffee, and it wasn't guarded, it wasn't a stock call or something like that. So yeah, I get it. Yeah. What do you guys see, Sam and Jen? From your client perspective?
Well, I know we have a mix. So we have some bigger schools that have a team, kind of like Charlie. But no, we have several of them that don't. They have students or faculty that kind of take it on. I know a couple of them actually have it outsourced, so they have an agency that helps them with their organic social. So it's kind of a blend. And I've actually seen it work in both ways. We're always really excited when they get the students involved, because you can get some really good content that way, especially because they are from that generation, so they know what those, what's cool, what's going to really grab attention, what's going to be funny, stuff like that. So, and it really helps those schools who can utilize that. And like Bobby said, you have to have that repository where you can kind of be like, okay, we're good, that one's good. But back to the editing thing, I know how many things can get overly edited, but those raw images, what we've seen be very, very successful in social, even in paid versus organic, doesn't matter. The more raw, the better the engagement is.
So I'm going to come back to Jen on that subject, but Martin, please chime in.
Yeah, the only thing I would add is, similar to what Bobby said, you definitely have to have controls as much as you can. The best way to control it is from a staff perspective is have thorough training and make sure that they represent your values and your professionalism as a brand. But owners should also let go a little bit, because students you can't control, and they are going to be advertising for you positively and negatively socially. And, as long as you're doing the best you can to get them the best outcomes and have the best experience, then they will likely spread the word for you positively. So I think, you got to let go a little bit, because it's a different world. You can't control what's being said about you on a day-to-day basis. There's obviously, from a school regulatory environment, you want to make sure your staff is saying all the right things, or more importantly, not saying the wrong things. But beyond that, you kind of have to open it up as much as you can.
So with that said, that's a really good point, Martin. With that said, Jen, is it more visual or more copy that really resonates that you found, especially, you personally on what you've done? Is it really the words that matter, or just someone looking at someone and saying, the dude dresses like me, looks like me, about the same age as me? And I'll go back to, if you guys remember, Virginia College did an ad many, we're talking a long time ago. We're talking Jerry Springer commercial type thing. And it was a gal on a bridge, and it was kind of the, if I can do it, you can do it kind of campaign. And it's not relevant now, but then it was exactly that. It was appealing to that peer group instead of someone that's in a suit and tie saying, you can be me type thing, if you get my drift on that. What do you think about that, Jen?
There are two different content pieces we're talking about: ads versus something organic and in the moment. And it's very different. And I think schools are so used to using social for ads. So they're in that mind of we need a great tagline. We need something that's going to connect emotionally.
Or something, has some sort of action oriented with it, right?
Yes. Which is, schools have been very used to using their marketing agency, and they've been outsourcing organic social and paid social. And unfortunately, what they're getting back is something created in Canva with a photo of a student, and then just a cheesy tagline on it. That's an ad, friends. That's not an everyday organic post. I super respect, as soon as Martin said, they're an agency, and they're like, we don't do organic social. Good.
Yes.
You shouldn't do organic social. If you're doing organic social, Run. If your agency is like, we'll do all your organic, so unless they're in your school every day, fire them. They cannot do your organic social for you. They can do your ads, but they can't do your organic social. That needs to be so in the moment. It needs to be hired in-house. So, back to what you were asking is, what are schools doing? They are utilizing their teachers. Those are the ones in the classrooms. I'm seeing a lot of push, yes, toward hiring a social media coordinator, but the really smaller schools that don't have a huge staff, they're using who they have. They're using admissions and they're using their educators to help collect content.
Can anybody do that? Or do you have to have, we talked about this last time, and I was like, I'm not pretty enough to, be a paid influencer. I don't have that if factor. No, I'm serious. I'm just saying, like, do you need to worry about that? And if you don't need to worry about that, how can I, as more of an older person, encourage people that are on the front line? Because let's face it, I mean, when you've got an admissions rep, you're like, I want you in an interview or finding an interview, right? All the other stuff I don't want to distract you with. But that's changed. That's changed significantly. And I would make an argument that a paid ad or a paid social, I don't need to CTA that stuff. I can tell right now when we pushed all of our chips in on SEO and organic social. I've got a pretty big team. I've got 4 people on the organic social side, and then I've got these guys, a full production team, and we're going into TikTok now. Now we're delving into that, and Jen, you were a big part of that because TikTok is the open. They no one knows who you are right there, and then that's the space you want to be in for that white space. But then you have your student audience, which is your Instagram and stuff like that you want to keep them involved in, and then Bobby Bonds, Martin, and all of us, we've got LinkedIn, right? And that fills my ego is LinkedIn for me. So how do you do that though, from the perspective of, man, every second counts. I want to make sure we're netting as much as we can. I don't want to have loss versus, hey, it's going to be okay because this is truly, if you were patient and watch it work out, it actually kind of, agencies on the paid side, but it can slow your paid side down a little bit so your margins open a little bit and you've got more people walking in the door just from the culture you're presenting out there by the real people on your staff or your instructors or things like that. You get what I'm saying?
We have been historically taught that creating content takes a long time because it used to. So you used to need a production team. You used to need, the tripods, the editors, and making sure you have the software. And I think what you're forgetting is that is not how organic social works today. There's no excuse for a school to say, oh, we don't have time for that. You don't have time to grab your phone for 45 seconds and hit post. It's not what it used to be. And so it's not time consuming. It's really authentically in the moment. I think anyone and everyone can be doing it.
I think anything's content, right? Walking, Charlie, you remember this when you were on the campuses and probably still are. The first thing I do when I walk on the campus is I do a loop. I do a loop around the campus and push in chairs and, complain about, a whiteboard being dirty. And that's content, right? Have somebody follow you around, listen to me complain for 20 minutes. That's content because it really does show. It's authentic. It shows what the day looks like, right?
It's real. Like I say, we used to talk about Scrub all the time or NSR, News to Review, whatever you call it.
Sure.
And I was like, I don't care who hears this. We're talking about them. Just like you have a job, they're getting a job.
Great point.
So why are you shutting the door and talking talking about the people? It's fine. Yeah. They should know that type thing. And it's the same type thing, I think, with organic.
Yeah.
Martin, Sam?
Yeah. Content creation has become so much easier. Like 3 or 4 years ago, we made a 2-minute animated video. I think it cost about $10,000 in 3 months worth of work. And now it's about $80 a year membership to a piece of software. And 20 minutes later, you're pumping this video out. So it's very simple. Maybe I'm simplifying it, but if you're editing content with a live person, everybody's got a phone now, and the quality on the phone is much better than a lot of cameras that people use. So it's pretty simple to make content and very quick and cheap and easy. Yeah. So,
and I'd even say, even if the camera's not good, that appeals to people that are in the same shoes as they are. A little grainy, a little sideways, not perfect, maybe a misspelling or two. So yeah. Sammy, what's that?
Don't overthink it. And what we have a saying is, we say all the time, we're like, don't let great get in the way of good.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Let it go.
That's what it's about.
That is what it's about. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. So here's the $1 million question, and I've kind of asked this, and I really am trying to see. So if you've got a director of admissions watching this, how can they say, okay, I'm a student of the game. How do I utilize social for my campus and my system in the most appropriate way? Let's consider controls are there. Let's consider that other stuff is already there. But how can they take the reins or encourage them to take the reins to help that?
Admissions has something that the rest of us don't.
Personality?
And that is, it's,
Sorry.
well, you say that about me.
I'm joking.
They have a front row seat to the prospective student. They're the only person in the entire school that is calling, texting, touring. They know the most frequently asked questions. They know the pain points. And I think that we need to tap into that, meaning marketing. We need to tap into what should our next blog be about? If we're going to start a podcast, what should that be about? If we're going to rewrite our financial aid page, what should the FAQs be on that? Your admissions is literally will unlock the secret to that, because they're the only ones that knows what the prospective student is asking. So if I'm an admissions person, I'm going to go up to my director and say, hey, saw the marketing ad. That's not going to resonate with the type of people that I'm enrolling. I know that for a fact because I'm enrolling these people every day. That's what would have worked 5 years ago.
So do you think we don't empower, it's an important point what you're making. Do you think, even me, do you think we just don't empower them enough, and we're so constrictive and controlling that we end up, suffocating the ingenuity that we're missing out on from this?
We are not including them in the conversation, you guys, and they do need to have a seat at the marketing table. That was the secret to back when I was a marketing director. All my best campaigns, the ones that won me awards, it wasn't me. It was my admissions director giving me ideas, not knowing she was
But
giving
you
me
said
ideas.
they were your ideas then.
Of course I did, and to this day I do. And the awards have my name on it. So,
But hands down, we've had so many people come to a call, and they're looking. The marketing team comes to the call. They're all about this, building out this new campaign. We're about to, get final approval to go ahead and launch it. And someone from the director of admissions comes in, or a VP like Charlie comes in, and they're like, no, this is terrible. And 3 months or maybe 3 weeks or whatever it is to put all that information together and build it all out to kind of come to this point where this, really important person was not part of the conversation. Sure. And so we constantly have to ask, we're like, are you sure you have everybody that you need to be a part of this conversation? Because if there's not marketing and admissions, and Charlie, I saw your, one of your posts about the fact that you're both is a very unique, because a lot of schools do not have it so that one person is over both. Why
do you think that is? Because I've heard marketers advocate for that too, where they're the job's too different in skill set, and I fundamentally disagree with that.
I disagree.
You do? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
You disagree with that, Bobby Bonds, or what do you think?
By the way, I love it when Samantha takes a drink because she's promoting the top brand. I don't know
every time.
That's fantastic. Promote FAPS if you're in Florida watching this. That's a good thing.
I'm waiting for her to hold a donation card up after this.
I thought you were
trying to hit this year. No, I'm sitting here talking to you guys and thinking about my current staff, and we really do involve them. I mean, we don't shy away from our employees' social media. When our employees post on their personal page, we'll share their stories.
I love what you guys do with your students.
Yeah.
I've been watching it.
We try to get them involved as much as possible. I mean, and we don't have it as part of their KPIs, but it might as well should be. They want to do it. They'd rather do that than make 20 calls. They'd rather make a video or two.
And we would too if they're walking in the door. Yeah. I mean that's what it's all about. Because you guys know this. You want to rub shoulders with people you want to be around. Yeah, and I think that's what organic social gives us, especially if it's done by the right people.
Yeah.
Right?
I agree.
So, Martin, I got a question for you as an operator. How long ago was that? Was that many years ago? Was it?
No, 2016, I left school business and I started marketing for schools.
If you knew what you know now, do you think you would have done anything different and I know that's a big umbrella question, but for this purpose, what would you have done a little bit differently as an operator from what you've seen now in 2024?
Certainly from a marketing mix, definitely a lot. Yeah, I would have certainly focused a lot more on, and I kind of, it's what we do right now is, if you think about the funnel from a lead gen perspective, and you have, if you're, especially for smaller schools, if you have 3 or 4 campuses versus 20 or 30, that's a different story. And you've got a certain set amount of money that you can spend. You want to spend it kind of where people are near the bottom of the funnel. People that are their decision's about to be made. They're already looking for school. They're looking for you. Those are the people you want to spend your money on. And then, we're talking about social here, and I did at the beginning say I'm the anti-social here, because I think going social, trying to capture social leads, it's kind of a secondary option to a brand new school that's looking to generate more students, that only has a limited amount of money to spend, particularly at a smaller school, because the conversion rates on social are worse than paid search. And what I mean by that is, somebody's typing into Google, I am looking for a college that has the massage therapy program near my camp, near my city. That's a high intent person. Versus you're picking an audience, you're picking a demographic. You're saying, hey, I think these people might be interested. Some particular industries, it works miraculously, like beauty schools as an example. That's definitely a good target area where it's probably more effective than search. Anyway, so my marketing mix would have certainly changed. Back when I ran the schools. The other part of it is from an admissions perspective, the outbound calling and the response time on admissions. And we deal with tons of schools and we test them all the time. And that interaction rate and the speed to lead and how fast they call the leads and how they interact with leads, it's still, you could say it's 1984 in some of these schools. And they haven't caught up. And using the right technology with now AI and now the videos that MDTs are doing, there's a lot of different things you can interact with students or potential students that I wish I would have done better in the past. But certainly, I wish I would have known what I know now, because I think we probably would have been 6 or 7 times bigger. So.
I think we agree with you, and I will say, just a shout out to MBT. That video, the video nurturing has tremendously helped us. Especially, I don't know what you've seen and done, but we're starting to introduce the same thing on the organic side. We're introducing real people. Not talent that's either paid for, perfect teeth and perfect hair. We're using the individuals that they would see every day, and I expect in 2024 now that we've done that to even lift even more from those video nurturing type things. So when you're at an agency and you're on the paid side, and when you say you're antisocial, how do you even look at, and if you do, how so, the organic campaigns that people are doing, if you can even call them campaigns, but the organic side of it? How do you use it, if you do, to complement your paid side? And that doesn't mean just paid social. That can be digital, PPC, and other things. Does it complement it? Do you look at that as a way to help your mix out from a cost perspective, and to make sure you're yielding at appropriate rate and things like that? Do you guys have any comments on that?
Your ads will give you direct cost per leads, which you can then in turn figure out your cost per enrollment. So like this Instagram ad brought me in this.
How do you deal with attribution though, for those that are listening? Because one of the struggles is I don't want to spend $75,000 on an attribution tool that says, Jen, with a cupcake in her hand talking about the school did this for me.
Yeah, I'm sure that would work.
Yeah. So organic social.
Good cupcake. She has to do this though when she's eating it.
Like, that would work.
That's right.
So organic social it's like a billboard in the way of you don't know directly how many leads that's going to bring into and how many students that's going to be. But here's what I feel like no one's talking about right now.
I'm sorry, I tried to ask the right question.
TikTok is you're totally fine. TikTok, you guys, is the new search engine. It's the new Google for Gen Z.
Is TikTok going away though? A lot of people. I was at LeadsCon last year, and everybody was like, "Why sink your teeth into it? It's going away." Blah 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 blah.
They've been saying that since it came out in 2018.
I was just thinking that. I'm like, they say that every 3 months.
They say that every year, maybe depending on who the president is. But no, I don't. I don't think TikTok is going to go anywhere. But it you know, if it's not, it's going to be something else. People want to get bite-sized information in video form, which is why instead of going to Google and saying, where should I go to school, beauty school near me, how do I become a nurse, they're going to TikTok, which is why we need to start treating TikTok like content, like our website.
Agree with you on that.
And that is what I think schools right now are missing. They're looking at organic social like, how many leads will it bring in? Well, maybe none, Jared. Like, I don't know how many leads it will bring in.
But it's because they're talking to a guy like me 5 years ago who wants to CTA everything and say, what's the ROI? There's no ROI. I'm not doing it. I mean, that was me 5 years ago.
But there is, you can tag source onto every single source and track it through your website into your CRM. So if you have a social organic ad somewhere or organic content, you can push the actual source through to your landing page and then capture it on your landing page and then send it into your CRM. So there's attribution.
Real quick, sorry.
Okay. Well,
let me just ask this real quick.
I'm just so in awe right now on who's going to talk more, Charlie or Jen. Like, you guys are both such powerful personalities.
All I have to say, Sam, is what's the show's name? I'm just joking. Sorry, I'm just joking.
Charlie, did you get invited to the Chat with Jen show tomorrow? Did you get invited to the Chat with Jen show tomorrow?
You can edit me out.
No, her show will be called Jen's Show.
No,
Jenn Lyles.
That's it.
It's got Jenn Lyles.
Jenn Lyles. And there'll be some sort of casino. What do you call those things that you get ching, 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 ching that no one wants to play but you?
Slot machine.
And anybody 80 years and older. Slots.
Slots?
Yeah, slot machines. But I was going to... Anyways, but Martin, do you think that there's I'm always worried about the steps in a process, you know? In fact, we've done a lot of things where we're appending now because we don't want to capture too much information because just that demographic doesn't want to do it for us, the demographic that we have. Do you worry a little bit about the steps in that you take away from netting a little bit more in that white space to have an opportunity to get a yield out of them?
I don't know if it's, as far as steps from a process perspective, you don't necessarily have to divvy it up by every single source, but kind of count all sources that are not paid, that are not direct as your social, and then just kind of figure out what your marketing spend on social from a wages and content development all that perspective is, and then I wouldn't maybe split up 7 different ways between Facebook, Instagram, although personally I would, but you don't have to, is what I'm saying.
Because you're going to want to drill down a little bit differently, right? And then Jen, you had a comment, I think, or Bobby, one of you guys had a comment.
No, I mean, what I was going to say is, so I'm not bragging here. I'm giving facts.
Here we go. Let the rotation start with all my business names. Let the rotation start.
This is a true story. There's no lie. When I acquired my part of the school in Miami, I had 87 students and I was dead broke. Like, that's a true statement. And so the little bit of money I had, I knew that we had to invest in marketing, and I couldn't compete with the big guys in Google. Like, there are these large universities in Miami that are spending millions of dollars in Google ads that I
don't use their name.
I just couldn't compete with them. No, but I couldn't compete with them, right? And so what's crazy, Martin, you're going to think I'm nuts for this. 80% of my spend goes to social. 20% goes to Google. And
like paid social or just on your organic side?
Paid social. 80% goes towards that's the spend. That's the spend of
really
the actual. But what I learned from that is I can't compete with the big guys. I don't have the resources to do that. So that was in 2019. I became a part of the company. 87 students. Today we have close to 1,200. And
brag.
I focus. So that's my brag point.
That's huge. It's huge.
And 80% of that spend is on social because I knew I couldn't compete with them. So I guess my takeaway from that is if I'm a new school starting out in a market like mine, right? don't sleep on social. Like, don't sleep on social. You need it to build your brand.
See, a lot of people would say, and I've been known to say this, paid social is low yield. It just does. So I'm interested to understand that.
So what's different about most people and me is I saw that money coming out of my personal bank account for every lead. And so when you're paying for every single lead yourself, it's like that little biscuit in Tommy Boy.
Interesting.
You're going to pet it.
Oh, my pretty little pet. I love you. So I stroke it, and I pet it, and I massage it.
Yeah. No, I know exactly what you're going to say. You're going to love it.
You're going to make sure you get everything out of it. And I literally, when I do my trainings, because I still do new hire trainings for admissions, I like to meet with them and I like to talk to them and I like to tell them that story because it resonates with them. I said, if you were buying that lead, what would you do with it?
I love my little naughty pet.
And it makes
wow,
them work
I like that.
a little bit different.
Yeah,
that really reminds me of my retail days because when I was running a store, the store.
Did you work at the Gap?
What's up?
Were you at the Gap? Were
No,
you a Gap
I was
girl?
at Ann Taylor Loft. Thank you very much.
Sorry, that's a big difference. Sorry.
Never been.
But no,
Never been.
Oh my gosh, everything's a joke with Charlie around here.
I'm sorry. Let's be serious.
But just you give them a face. My sister used to call me. She's like, "Man, you're such a ball buster," and it's because when I took over the store, it was in the bottom 10% of the company. We were pretty close to being closed, and so I turned it around. By everybody that I hired on, I pretty much said, "Look, you've got 2 weeks to impress me. This is where we're at." Was very honest about where we were at, and I pretty much went about and was like, make friends with the people coming through the store. You got to build a relationship. Don't just be like, hey, these sweaters are on sale. No, be like, hey, how's it going today? Is it still raining outside? Start a conversation. Or, when they walk in, hey, compliment something that they're doing or something that they're wearing. Start a conversation and be real about it. And we turn the store around. So again, building a relationship is the key piece. And that's why authenticity, if I can spit it out.
It's a lot of syllables.
It is.
But if I could add, if I could just respond, Bobby, one of the things that you mentioned is you couldn't compete with the big schools. And I'll challenge you on that, where actually Google is a platform where you can be the little guy and look like the big guy or compete with the big guys. And one of the things you might be missing out on that you could look at is if you have a very small budget and you want very specific, highly targeted leads, that's where you have to go to Google. As long as you know what you're doing, it's not a lot. It's not rocket science, but there's a way of saying, hey, I want to get 10 leads a week or 15 leads a week, and that are people that are specifically looking for me for my program in my region within a 2 mile or a 1 mile radius. I'm not going to compete with the guys that are downtown Miami. I want to compete with anybody that can drive to my school within 5 minutes or take one bus to my school. So Google allows you to kind of do that in a very, very targeted,
very hyper target, right? And zoning and everything else. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So typically we start with a new school. And the other thing I should mention is we've done a lot of audits and analysis on Google campaigns for schools. And I can tell you that the bigger the company, the more schools they have, the worse that they do. And because they've got a lot of fingers in the bucket. They've got a lot of people looking at it, and there's not really enough control or enough necessarily strategic direction together as a group. And that's just my personal experience. We've done a few different industries. There's actually one in Boca Raton where you were actually recently at for the last couple of months. And they were a massive, massive company. And I was going in there, the 25 people in their marketing team. I was sure that this is going to be so amazing that we've got nothing that we can offer them. And it was just a disaster. And, we've got a school just down the road that is just a single school that's just doing a fantastic job getting great cost per leads, but the cost per start is terrific for them versus a different company. So they might be missing a little bit of an opportunity, but if social is working for you, great, but you might be missing out.
Do you think that's more
bit.
ego, Martin, when you went to the bigger schools in the bigger marketing departments more than, you know what I'm saying?
Like their ego gets in the way?
Yeah, it's...
What's that?
Their ego gets in the way. They're assuming too much about what they think they know about their audience.
Because they're big net guys. They want to net bigger.
So big schools have a director or a vice president of marketing that has grown through the marketing industry and has been promoted throughout, and is probably not as granularly involved in the day-to-days of what's happening on campaigns. Where, you know, in our company, I personally manage campaigns, but I kind of get into it every single day. So we kind of don't get away from, I still to this day, I have every single lead we sell, which we sell thousands and thousands of, emailed to me. I look at every single one myself. Only, not because I need to, but because I want to kind of keep a pulse on the business. And I feel that the bigger the company, the senior management doesn't have the pulse on the business as deeply, because they're not as granular on a day-to-day basis. And I know I may be saying something unpopular.
No, I don't think you are. I just think you're in good company.
It happens.
Sorry to cut you off, but I think you're in good company. You know, I think
maybe
all of us, you know, the five of us that are on this call, and I will say this about myself because I'm egotistical, but we are roll your sleeves up type individuals.
Yeah.
We're I would say we're more student of the games and not an ivory tower type operations and things like that. And I think, you know, Jen, Sam, and Bobby, and yourself, Martin, that's probably been a key to our success, because we get down to the level of reception and make sure they understand what we're doing, why we're doing it, how to approach it from a narrative perspective, whatever it is. And it all spills into higher yield and better production, you know, lower cost, higher conversion, those type of things. And one thing that Bobby mentioned and Sam elaborated on, which I think a lot of us miss out on, and I love that you said this, is that leadership approach to transparency of what your expectations are from the dirt to the high rise. You know what I mean? Like at any second, Bobby, you're probably meeting with someone that's, you know, up here, so to speak, in their role or classification, and then in 24 hours or 12 hours, you're talking to someone that theoretically is down here in the career, you know, ladder or whatever. I would assume, because I know you, that your approach is not different with either one of them. You're honest, you're raw, and things like that. And I think, you know, to Jen's point, that's what has to be shown, not the other things that have been shown that we've traditionally done in the last 20 years. And then, you know, Martin as an agency and all those other guys, you know, I'm charged with, you know, how much I'm spending towards our revenue, like the percent to revenue, so to speak. And so my role is to do as much as I can to open that margin up, but but to also hit our counts, right? Our whether you're for-profit, non-profit, whatever it is, you still have student counts you have to hit, right? And I think that leadership quality resonates, which brings me back to the initial point of that. I believe the people make the culture of your organization. The organization doesn't make the culture of your people. See, I did that, Sam. I came full circle like that.
Be very picky about who you hire.
You do. Mm-hmm. And in an agency too, Martin. I mean, we talked about this, Sam, on one of our shows. When you're looking at clients, you know, you can't just be hungry for revenue. You've got to make sure it matches your interests, matches your personality, and you see things alike. Jen, you're the same way too. I remember talking to you about getting text messages from clients late at night while you're, you know, winning thousands on the slot machine versus this. And it's because you're as passionate for them as they are passionate for their own success, so to speak. You know what I mean? And that's what resonates with the individuals in that space of social, that only a person that can do it, an instructor. I love how you said that. We've spent a lot of time kind of not empowering, but promoting our instructors, their personalities, how they talk, how they walk, how they dress, because that's who they want to be. And I'll just use one more because it is my show and I'm going to talk a little bit more. I remember way back in the day, a long time ago, and hopefully you guys get what I'm saying here. I was outside talking to one of the instructors, and he had left and a student had come out. And again, this is years ago, like way years ago, for University of Phoenix when I was there. And the instructor had left, got in their car and left, and the student came and talked to me and watched the instructor drive away. And this is no knock on a car. It's no knock on someone's financial ability. It's no knock on that. But it's a perception, is their reality, right? And that student kind of looked at me and said, that's who I'm going to become? Because the instructor just had just like ridiculous bird poop all over it, just a wrecked car and everything else. And I learned something right there. In a way, is not that it's like I'm trying to promote something of a facade, but we got to be very careful what we put out there and understand it and what it counts for, because they see everything. You know, just like a child when you're rearing them, they mimic everything. They see everything. And I think because of reality TV and all these other things, it is spilled over into our vertical because we're a human based, relationship based type organization. You guys get what I'm saying? Yeah. Or you just, because it's my show, you're just looking at me and nodding your head?
Yeah, no.
You feel me on that? You feel me on that?
You got to take yourself more seriously. No. That's it.
You got
to. Yeah, absolutely. That's
you got to have that black screen back there, which I'm going to have really fun with in editing.
I just feel like if you get too serious, it just kind of...
Yeah. But you got to have your personality, though, right?
Not serious. We don't take ourselves too seriously.
Well, when I say that, I'm not saying you need to be president of the United States serious, but you know, be active. Be active. Be don't be afraid to be who you are. That's what I'm getting to.
I was saying when you said be serious, I was saying be confident because that's how you described it. Yeah. It was being confident on promoting yourself, promoting the brand that you want to promote and stuff like that. So,
because let's face it,
but you shouldn't wash your car just because you're representing a school. You should wash your car because like you're a human being, and that's disgusting. Like I think we need to empower people not to do things for our brand. This has nothing to do with the school. This has to do everything with you as a person and like what do you want to put out to the world. And I think
that's kind of what I was getting at. That's what I was getting at. It's not a knock on anything. It's just the perception is that person's reality. And if you have production oriented, like stock photos, like the first thing I did when we got here is we're never using stock again. Sam, you know that. And I didn't care how painful it was, how much money we need to spend. I was not going to put any piece out anywhere that was stock. It had to be real people that are in our schools or were at our schools. That's
more schools need to do that. Like I can't stand getting onto a website. And the first thing I see is this stock photo of something. And I'm like, that's a stock photo. Like I know immediately. I've seen it a million times. That's a stock photo. Yeah. I mean, even for our brand, we do the same thing. We don't, as much as possible, we literally take pictures. That's why you see Gary all the time. He hates it.
I'm sick of seeing Gary.
He's got perfect hair and perfect teeth, so it kind of looks like a stock photo. And we have a really good photographer, but yeah, no, definitely kill the stock.
But Charlie, that instructor with the bird poop car, how was their classroom? And were they a clean? Did they manage a clean classroom? And that's one way where you can actually help coach that person to make sure that their classroom and your expectations within the school were set properly.
Absolutely. Great instructor, great classroom. Like all the other tangibles were right on. The only reason I just said that is it just planted a seed in me that everything someone sees, you've got to be careful of, but not deliberate. And I think that's what you're trying to say, Bobby. It's not a deliberate facade that I think, some people have done over the years. It's a good, honest representation of your institution.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, that does not mean the bird poop comment. Maybe it backfired on me, but it's just perception is reality to many people, and you have to be very conscious of that and careful with that. Yeah. The same is true if you roll up and you're a school and you pull up in the parking lot in a wide body Benz, tricked out and everything, and this dude's spending $75,000 on your school and he's walking by your car. Yeah. The same is true. I mean, these are very elementary examples. But it's still relevant when we talk about who we are, how we want our brand to be seen, and those type of things, right? That's kind of what I'm trying to get at. If that makes sense. Yeah. Jen, can you take us through something that you elaborated before? Again, for the audience, you've got reels, stories on the top, and then you got scroll. You've got Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. TikTok. Let's leave the other ones out for right now, just the major four that people know. Can you break us down on the use of those like you did with me before, but I want to bring that back. And then if Bobby Martin and Sam can also comment on that, on that kind of breakdown of social use based on student or the white space type thing.
So I like Facebook and Instagram for community. So for your own student population, once someone becomes a student or even when they're an alum, it's a perfect platform to showcase what's going on in the school. And yes, for the actual posts, those can be higher quality. If you want to edit it, have music in it, great. But stories need to be more authentic and in the moment. TikTok is going to be the
let me
platform
let me pause you right there. So, and you're talking like classroom stuff or student stuff. I know Bobby, he'll have, a nursing student or an MA student, doing a jig or something, but they got a big smile on their face. It's good. They got a big smile on their face. You can tell they're happy to be there. If I was someone in that demo, I'd be like, you know what? I want to be in the class with her. Those type of things, right? Is that what you're talking about there?
They're going to be sharing that on their Instagram stories to where their friends are going to see that, and that can make a great referral to you. It really is more of a community. Or your school's closed because there's a huge snowstorm. Are you going to put that on TikTok? No. Like, the whole world doesn't need to know that your school's closed because of the snowstorm. Just your community does.
Did that. Literally just did that.
How was I supposed to know
You're gonna do it on TikTok though.
Well, I mean, we did it on Instagram or something, but
that's what I'm saying. Exactly.
Okay, so I'm good. I'm good.
That's my point. That's your community. That's where
strike that from the record.
Think of Instagram and Facebook as how am I going to better communicate with my students and their friends. That is what those platforms are for. And I'm talking about organic content, not ads.
I got it.
That's organic content. TikTok, that is going to be informative stuff because TikTok's now a search engine. It's going to be the fun in the moment things. It's going to be reviews about things. It's going to be looking into the lives of your teachers and what was everyone watching on Netflix last night and who watched that new cult documentary that just dropped on Hulu. Like, that's what you're going to be talking about on TikTok.
Should you be a trend chaser on TikTok?
In what way? Like trending audio and making sure you're doing videos.
Like the only thing I can think of the water bucket thing or stuff like that. Like, are you a trend chaser or are you creating your own trend?
Yeah, jump on whatever everyone's talking about. Everyone right now on social media is talking about
the list from the island for Epstein.
Or if we don't want to get political, everyone's talking about Gypsy Rose. Everyone is talking about Gypsy Rose Blanchard, who just got out of prison.
Oh, that was my next go-to. Okay, got it. Okay.
That is what that's what everyone's talking about on TikTok. I mean, just like even getting a teacher's opinion about stuff like that. Or if you were on death row, what would be your last meal? Just like interesting facts about people. That's TikTok. Okay.
And it's the white space, right?
So
Martin, please.
I just want to ask a question, and I don't know the regulations in the U.S. So in Canada, if we could incent students to pay to generate leads, and we pay them referral bonuses for new students. I don't know if you guys can do referral payments to students, but is there a play here where you can actually pay people to generate leads for you from their friends? Just asking.
There's people that get paid professionally for that. Jen, please comment on this. Yeah. But I was going to go down that path a couple of years ago, and we decided not because of the genuineness of it and the authenticity of it. But there's people out there you hire them, and they have like 2 million followers, and they may have their followers maybe mainly auto mechanics, and so you want to tap into their platform, or so to speak, and they'll be a kind of an ambassador of your brand, if you will, if that's what you mean. Yeah.
No, I actually meant more like I've got Sally in my massage therapy class at a campus, and she makes a video, and 3 of her friends, inquire into becoming students within her class. So she gets paid for those leads, or if they become the referral students or anything like that. Is that a play?
It's no.
It's a little slippery.
I'm just going to say no. Yeah.
Okay.
I was going to try to find something gray to say, but
I would say no.
No.
You cannot do that. But what you can do is these are the top 3 things trending on TikTok right now. You go to your class and you say, get in groups of 3 or 4 and make a video. And you use that to repurpose. Now, will that bring you referrals and more eyes? Absolutely. But you're not tying that contest to how many people.
Yeah, you can't attach an outcome to it. In fact, even with students, there's a little bit of an area there in the U.S. where you can't use them in some sort of advertorial setting until they're a graduate. So you have to be careful even with current students and how they're used and how they're portrayed. But definitely there's a play for us in the U.S., and we need to open a school in Canada, it looks like, too. But there is a play for us in the U.S. definitely to get that same type response without a carrot at the end of it, so to speak, to generate that. So, and that's exactly what we try to do, really, is to show that side of us in a non-paid, non-formal setting. So they would want to rub shoulders with those same people. It's just like a club opening up. I mean, same thing. Anything you're doing, like from an athlete, you want them to wear your stuff. I mean, same type of thing. You want them to, try to see who you are and say, yeah, it's not spending money there. It's not necessarily about an outcome from them from an education sometimes, because a lot of schools programs are a commodity. They're just there. There's a lot of choice out there. So then it comes down to, who do I want to be a part of and represent me type thing, if that kind of makes sense to you. So will you quickly explain to us too, the scroll versus the story? Is there any relevance to people out there on how to appropriately use whichever one, from Granddad here perspective?
Sure. So your posts are something that should live on your page forever. Of course, you can always remove them. So I think it's totally fine to even post that our school's closed because of bad weather. But when you go back to your actual profile and you look at all your past posts, remove that. I would remove that within a couple of days.
Really?
Absolutely. There's no reason you should clog up your actual feed by having that on
the
there.
Algorithm's not, does it help the algorithm when they're, what I mean, when they're catching?
No, I just think it makes your page look messy and unprofessional. I like an I'm not saying exactly. Your profile looks like bird poop. And so you kind of do want to clean that up a little bit. It doesn't have to be overly curated, but the fun in the moment stuff, those should be reels on Instagram, and those should be in your stories. Stories go down within 24 hours. So if you are at a graduation and you're doing behind the scenes in the moment stuff, that's great to put on stories. That'll live there for a day. All of your grads are going to want to go look at that, but it doesn't have to live on your feed forever.
Okay. Good info. All right. We're touching upon that time where we got to kind of end it, which is always sad. I'd love to do this again, maybe down the road, maybe even get a couple more people involved with some opinions. So first of all, please, Martin, I want to make sure you represent your company on here. Please tell us, your company. And if someone wants to get a hold of you, they can get a hold of you. Sam, likewise, Jen, likewise, and Bobby, you already own the state of Florida, so I think you're fine. But you could do that too. So please do that. And then we'll kind of just say bye. Usually I ask something quirky to do, or kind of your favorite song or something like that. So if you feel like you want to add something on your personality, your own personal brand that you want someone to know, please add that too.
So again, at MDT Marketing, we've been in business for over 25 years. I think it's coming actually pretty close to 30.
Wow.
On that one. But we've been helping colleges and universities with their marketing. And like I said, I'm the marketing manager, so I have a different role than most people at the agency. I don't actually, I get to make friends with our clients, but I don't work on the client stuff. I actually work to go and meet other clients. I reach out to Bobby and be like, hey, how's your marketing going? Do you need any assistance? That kind of stuff, much like Martin, who we actually partner with. We're not shy about partnering with other agencies. Again, we have some unique solutions beyond the digital advertising that most people do as an agency, but that's MDT Marketing.
And you also do internal, right? You're the internal marketer for internal, which many marketing companies forget that they need to market themselves as well.
Many companies forget. I again have quite a few years in B2B marketing at this point, and there's a lot of companies that they just think that their sales team can do marketing. I'm going to here tell you, no, they cannot. They are not. I mean, salespeople have their time and place because they're really good at building that relationship and bringing into the close of the sale. But when it comes to details, you need somebody that is detail oriented. So
I think I'm gonna have Alex and you on a call and just watch it happen. Just watch it happen.
As long as I don't have to depend on him to use a screwdriver, we're okay.
We'll talk about that later, I guess. So I'm not interrupting.
Not the drink. It's the fuel.
Oh, I thought you meant green tea. So sorry. So let's go. Just close it out. Jen, Bobby, and Martin, please close us out, please.
So we sell third-party leads to beauty schools, but other than that, Jenn Lyles has been gracing the earth for 38 years, and you can find me at JennLyles.com.
I love it. But you're also moving into other kind of streams within the education vertical, right?
That is the goal in the future, so we'll chat about that. But yes, I mean, I speak at lots of conferences. I'm always talking about Gen Z. We'll continue to talk about TikTok and the latest trends coming up. So definitely be looking out for new stuff in the future.
And I'll look for my next shampoo when I see you on TikTok. So I'll be behind that. All right.
So I got to tell you guys real quick. So you guys all know that I'm the president of FAPS this year. I have 3 goals to being the president of FAPS. Thank you, Samantha. 3 goals to being the president of FAPS is number 1, to grow the organization. Number 2, to reconnect us with legislators and the Department of Education here in Florida. And then number 3, to build a sustainable business. So we're open for another 56 years.
Love it.
And so we're doing a lot of events this year. And so you guys are all invited. February 1st, Bay 13, Coral Gables is our first new membership drive. And so current members and new members are allowed to come in, have a beer with me, and it's going to be a good event. So February 1st, Coral Gables.
I love it.
That's one of the things. That's my 4th job that I forgot to mention. But, I told you earlier I had a joke about the Salt Bay because you mentioned Salt Bay. So, about 4 years ago, I started doing consulting for schools when I got with CompuMed because like I mentioned, I was broke. I had to make some money. So I started doing consulting, and it was called Robert Wayne Consulting. I switched the name last year to the Aquinas Network. So the reason I named it the Aquinas Network is because Thomas Aquinas is the patron saint of colleges and universities, and I think very highly of myself. So I put a little salt on there.
Dude, that is so awesome.
And so we called it the Aquinas Network. And so what the Aquinas Network does is we do engaging marketing, technology architecture, consulting, digital content, and lead management and enrollment. So those are the 5 services that we offer for about a dozen brands all throughout the U.S. So
I love it.
We do.
That is I love hearing the story of the name because I did want to ask you. So
that is half a joke, but half serious. That's why we named it what we named it.
Nah, you've got good history, man.
Yeah.
You got good blood, and I'm glad to see you again.
Yeah.
Perfect. And then Martin, I don't know you. I think we've met a couple times, like just in passing, but I'm so glad you were able to come on the show, man. I really do appreciate it. And hopefully we could do definitely more of this, and hopefully we can bump shoulders at some conferences. But please tell us more about you and what you're doing in Canada.
Yeah, for sure. So Sam called us an agency. We actually take offense to the word agency. No, agencies are big, and they do a lot of different things, including social, but we don't. So we are a first-party leads generation company. We generate and sell our own leads, but typically the last thing we do with new clients is that we sell them leads. We kind of go through on a consultative basis, help them figure out what are they doing today, kind of help them figure out how to do things better as far as their own brand management, their own websites, landing pages, their own campaigns, and kind of spend their dollars where it's most efficiently. And our ultimate goal is to help schools find students. So we kind of go down the line saying, okay, once you're generating your own leads that are for people that are looking for you specifically or your specific programs, we can help you do that. Once you run out of capacity to do that and you need more, then we kind of get into, okay, now we can start augmenting that and selling some leads to you. And then we also have this software, and I told you about this $10,000 2-minute video that we made a few years ago. Yeah, we still use that same video. But so we created software that helps leads engage deeper and engage longer with lead gen efforts. And what it does is, we call it personality assessment. What it does is it helps a lead stay online longer with your brand and engages a conversation back and forth with your brand where they get some actual feedback on their fit and their kind of pros and cons about going to college. And then what that turns into is higher conversion rates for those leads. Specifically, it also extends the duration time of about 5 minutes for the leads on your landing pages and websites. It gives your admissions reps an extra 5 minutes to call them before they go on to inquire at other schools and do other things. So we kind of work on a lot of different perspectives. We also have a team in Poland of about 20 coders. We do a bunch of HTML email coding for big Canadian companies through an agency. That's why we don't call ourselves an agency. So our client is the agency, and then the client, which is Canada's biggest bank, Canada's biggest airline. They're our clients as well through an agency, and we do a lot of coding there. So we learn a lot of stuff from a coding perspective, the latest and greatest European standards, which most of the time in North America it's 2 to 3 years behind. So we're quite advanced from that perspective. So that's us. I'm on LinkedIn if anybody wants to find me.
So cool. Yeah, we'll make sure everybody reaches out to you.
I'll mention one last thing. Everybody, we're known from the last CQ. We did the IV drip station. We just signed up to do it again this year. So we
remember that was you guys, wasn't it?
Yeah. So if you go to the CQ conference, look for me in a white lab coat. That's right. We did about 55, 60 people last year, so we've signed up to do it again this year. So we'll be all set for that.
I'll see you at 9 a.m. at one of those days. So for sure.
Yeah, perfect.
Well, guys, we're out of time. I really do appreciate it. I do want to do this again. Thank you. I mean, thank you so much, Sam, Jen, Bobby, Martin. I really appreciate it. Thanks for being on. Maybe we'll send you a little trinket, hat or a sweatshirt or a shirt so you can rep us. But again, thank you so much. Look forward to seeing you guys in person, definitely down the road. Bobby, I look forward to seeing you too, and we can clang glasses and talk in person again too. So
I'm in Vegas in March. I don't know if you're going earlier. I don't know the event that's in Vegas earlier, but I'm in.
Are we all going to ABHAS? Because I'm going to.
I'm in.
I wasn't gonna. I go to Vegas once a month. I think Sam knows that. So I think March I'll see you there probably too. So we'll see.
Are you going to LeadsCon?
I am going to LeadsCon. I usually go every other year, and this is the year I'm going. So are you going as well?
Yeah, it's actually my first time we're going to do a booth there. So we haven't done a booth before. I've gone every other year.
I'd love to sync up with you too, or anybody else that's going. And I do like Lead Square because I get a lot of information from other verticals, especially the banking industry. I've learned a lot about machine learning and some of what they're doing.
Yeah, for sure.
That's cool.
All right, guys, this is our first show of 2004. Thank you for joining us. I did lie, though.
2024.
Do it again. 2004.
2024. I'm sorry, 2024. And I did lie. Our next show is not Las Vegas Live. We actually, this Friday, and we'll probably pump it out in a week or so after we do editing, but we're going to have the best HVAC instructor that's going to join myself and Dr. Paulette, and we're going to talk a little about, from the instructor point of view, what he does, why he does it, and talk about a little bit of students, similar to what we were talking about, Jen. So he is going to be on our next show, and then for our third show, we'll be streaming from Vegas, and we're looking forward to that, and we'll be looking for an IV drip right after that. So again, have a great one. We'll see you guys. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, everyone.